So welcome to the Courageous Nerd YouTube channel. My name's Connor. I'm joined today by Emily Summers. Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess how are things going for you where you are? Like, is everything good?
Everything is good. Yeah, it's sort of that like little quiet end of summer period. So things are good.
Absolutely, yeah. And obviously, people might know you a bit as an actress. You're kind of, building up, I guess, a portfolio as all actors do, like in your career as you go along. But I suppose to kind of take us back to the beginning, like what were your inspirations to even becoming involved in the entertainment industry in the first place? And yeah, kind of what made you want to pursue it professionally?
So I stumbled upon it as a kid. I was about 11 years old when I started in
Yeah,
theater. I was a ballet dancer and then kind of naturally transitioned to musical theater and then from there to theater. But I took a trip to New York with my parents and
yeah.
went with my dad for work. And while he was working, I got to go see Les Mis on Broadway.
Oh
And I saw,
wow,
yeah, there was a little girl who was my age who was up there
yeah.
singing and thought, that looks like fun. I'd like to try that. So
Mm,
I got to sign up for a musical theater camp as a little kid. My parents were really supportive and got me into it. They didn't push me, but they let me
mm,
kind of explore and see if I really liked it. And
yeah.
I did, and yeah, stuck with it ever since.
For sure. Yeah. And I suppose that once you like understood like, the whole like concept of acting and what that was there anyone in particular that you looked up to or admired?
Oh, as a little kid, I remember as a kid, I was like into Jodie Foster.
Oh, okay. Good choice.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was a little kid, like I would see Jodie Foster and like Gwyneth Paltrow, just like at that time we're really like doing some great, exciting work. So the
Mm,
two of them as a kid and Christian Bale, he's always been one I've
yeah.
since I was a little kid. So yeah,
Fantastic.
there are
Yeah.
quite a few.
Absolutely. Yeah. I suppose, on the flip side of that, in some sense, like since becoming a professional actor yourself, like what would you say have been your biggest learning experiences?
Definitely Westworld.
Mm,
Definitely Westworld. Just being on set and getting to act with the rest of the cast.
yeah.
Watching them, yeah, watching how they conduct themselves when they're, not in front of the camera as well as in
Hmm.
front of the camera. That you're it really pushes you, to up your game when you're getting the opportunity to act opposite people who's very experienced and very talented.
Absolutely, and just in case anyone isn't familiar with your appearances in Westworld, or just kind of putting together. Oh wait, yeah. I suppose how familiar were you with the show before you joined?
So I was from the beginning die hard, watched season one, I think with like almost everyone else back
Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
2016.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah,
highly anticipated it coming out, watched all of season one, and then like, needed to catch up because I'd like binge season one and then I had kind of fallen off and needed to refresh with season two and three. So when I
yeah,
first was cast, I just quickly was watching season three so that I would get the context of where the story was. And then once I ended up having more episodes and came back, I went back and watched season two. So it was kind of out of
yeah.
sync, but yeah, so I really know it now because I watched every single episode leading up to doing it.
Yeah, and I feel like that first season as well, because same. I watched the whole thing, and there's
Yeah.
like kind of like a ton of actors who are in that, but like who it wasn't their first job, but it kind of really kind of propelled them up. I mean, Jimmy Simpson, for example, like he was working like well before that, and that kind of
Yeah.
really put him in the spotlight, and obviously
I'm
he
like,
killed it. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there was not a bad actor. I mean, there's still, you watch the show and it's like, yeah, it's such an amazing ensemble of actors.
Mm, absolutely. And I guess for anyone who's not caught up with season four, like how would you explain your character's involvement?
Um, Yeah, so I think it's changed a bit, truly. I
Okay.
am an outlier, so I guess if you've watched Westworld, you know the theme of outliers, which originally was with the hosts, the ones who were getting consciousness, right?
Yeah.
They were outliers because they weren't sort of blindly following their loop. And then in
Hmm.
season four, it switched, and so the humans are in their loops, and the hosts are and the ones who are not, who are kind of waking up to the fact that they're being programmed in their lives, are outliers. So
Okay.
I'm an outlier who has whose husband was also an outlier, and I'm kind of following his path. He woke up before I did, and then I
Mm.
realized that that he was seeing something that really was there. He wasn't crazy. And then yeah, so they're sort of the humans who are rebelling and trying to that rebel group trying to get away from the hosts, and the hosts are trying to get to these humans who are
Yeah.
outliers. It's switch from the Westworld we're used to.
Absolutely. And there's something I've heard a lot from actors, and maybe it's the same for you as well, where they say, like, regardless of the size of the role they got, like if they have a show like Westworld on their resume at some point, that's kind of like, oh, like you were in that. I mean, have you had that kind of experience? Like, oh, Westworld, that's interesting. Like, could you talk about that? Since you were in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'm still discovering like what impact, how that will be received. I think, in this day and age, like just getting a role on anything is such a
Yeah.
win for an actor. And then it's hard for casting and for reps to know, like, okay, what was the role, how big was the role, with those
Mm.
kinds of things. So I think now having it air and getting some of that footage will be really helpful too. But for sure, just the show has such a stellar reputation. It's such a mammoth show that people are respond really positively to that, which is awesome. It's great. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I suppose, like, as we were saying, like, consistently throughout the show so far, I mean, the cast has changed a little bit, but it's had, for the most part, like these cool, kind of really talented actors, like really like big names. And I suppose, was there anyone you're really looking forward to meeting or working with, like before you even knew like exactly what you'd be doing? Like, oh, I hope I get to meet or work with this person.
Oh yeah, Ed Harris.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah,
Hands
yeah.
down. Yeah, Ed
Mm,
Harris. Yeah, for sure. Just because he's such a legend.
mm,
I admired him. He's another one when I was a kid. Like you
yeah.
know him from a million different movies, especially the Truman Show always
Truman
like
Show.
stuck out to me.
Yeah,
So yeah, that was definitely the most nerve-wracking day. And also it was phenomenal just to get to then have that work out, and I got to work with him. So, and Evan Rachel Wood, truly, I've admired her forever. So
yeah. I mean, as you said, that there's not like a single, I don't want to say
yeah,
weak link, but like, that
yeah.
it's full of like strong actors.
Jeffrey
It's an
Wright,
incredible cast.
yeah. Tana
Yeah.
Dwayne, yeah,
I mean,
there's like
Aaron
really
Paul
not,
more recently. Yeah.
yeah, there's no one that you'd be disappointed to land in a scene with on that show.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I suppose, like, as well as like Westworld, like, have you been in anything else recently that you can discuss?
So personally, I just produced, wrote, and acted in this short film that's based on a book I optioned the rights to. So we just wrapped
Okay.
that, yeah, a couple
Oh,
weeks ago.
congrats.
And
Yeah.
then yeah, so that we filmed in Northern California in the Sacramento area. And then I have a recurring role coming up on an Apple TV Plus show
Hmm.
that we're going to start filming the end of this month. So kind of like right now is that like sweet little in between spot where I finished that one, I'm watching Westworld, and then I get to work on the next one. So
Absolutely, yeah. And it's the last question I've got prepared. And I
sure.
ask almost everyone this question, that to varying, some people just like are really overwhelmed by it. Some people are like, oh, love this question and go right into it. But it's basically just asking, like, obviously you've got Westworld and like your other career aspects going on. But I suppose like in a wider sense, like with the rest of 2022 and going forward, like do you have any goals set for yourself, or like what would you like to accomplish?
I do. And I guess it's more, I mean, one, just to keep working, which is a boring answer,
For
but just to
sure,
keep
yeah.
going from project to project is it would be a great goal. And then I would love, so we did this short film, and the goal was to get interest for the feature film. So I kind of took 20
Okay.
minutes out of the feature film and made the short. And so I
Yeah.
have script for the feature film, and the goal is to get interest from the short that we did and get to make the feature. So that would be
Yeah.
my huge goal, is to get that edited and out into the world, and then get
Mm.
someone attached to make the feature film. I think that's the big
Yeah.
one.
I don't know if that was like a reference point, but I'm pretty sure Saw did the same thing, right? Where they made a short as like a proof of concept, and then that convinced people then to work with the
Yeah.
idea. I don't know if you knew that, but I think that's what they
I
did as
didn't know
well.
that one was. Yeah, the famous one is Whiplash. That's the one
Oh
I
yeah,
always
true.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
hmm
Oh, for sure.
So it's a good, yeah, it's sort of like the standard now, I feel like, as if you want to make an indie film,
Yeah.
it's one good way of going about getting funding for the feature film. So we'll see. Fingers
Hmm.
crossed, but yeah, that would be a huge one.
Mm, absolutely. Well, I guess, best of luck with everything going forward, career-wise, personally, and, just thanks for taking the time to speak with me today, and, all the best. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you. Thank you. You as well. Thanks so much for your time.